on the situations of our conscious action. When we are conscious, when we are awake, then it goes like this. It goes through this chain. It's a bureaucratic chain. It has to go through this, through buddhi, and then through ahankara, and then only gets access here. And that's, now we come to the function of intelligence, which is very important for our description. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained that intelligence of buddhi has 5 functions. And these 5 functions, they have a lot to do with the system, to understand that. As I said, there is this chitta, or subconscious mind, or unconscious mind, which stores all the information, all the important information, and all other outlets have to connect with it. And then, as I said, there is this ahankara, which is near it. Then there is this intermediate mind, or buddhi. And then there is manas. So normally what happens, and that is exactly what is explained there. Normally what happens, the information comes through mind, and it goes here and to buddhi. And buddhi, basically the function of perception or recognition. The main function of buddhi is Viveka Shakti, or the main Shakti which is there in buddhi is Viveka Shakti. Viveka Shakti basically means the ability to discriminate, an ability to know the consequences, ability to see the consequences, what is good, what is bad. You know, this is all going in buddhi. This is all happening in buddhi. So when the mind gives some information to buddhi, buddhi connects with chitta and ahankara, with this system, and then it processes this information and actually gives the conclusion whether you need it, whether it's good or bad. Not on the basis of emotional mind. If the buddhi is strong, then the digestion takes place here. Why this element is so important? Because it's, as I said, it has the nature of fire. And fire transforms. The main function of fire is transformation. If buddhi is weak, if the intelligence is very weak, and we only take, and this is the case, for example, of a small child. When the child is very small, then the buddhi, or this fire of intelligence, is very, very weak. So immediately there is a more or less direct connection between the pleasurable experience of this world with my consciousness or subconsciousness. And it's a very dangerous situation. When we're very young and very vulnerable, the experiences which we have leave very strong impressions in our subconsciousness. And these experiences stay there because they are not digested. And therefore, the child, according to Vedic culture, should be very strictly protected. So much so that in the beginning, when the buddhi is very weak, the child is not even taken outside for a few days or even 1 month. The child is kept inside his mother only in a very protected environment. And all the impressions which we get in the childhood, they go directly here and they influence our life. Whereas the function of the buddhi is to digest it. And this is the same function which the digestive fire has in our stomach. If the digestive fire is strong, what happens with the food? The food is transformed into what? Yeah, into energy. But if the digestive fire is weak and we take food, Then what happens with the food and what happens with us and with the whole system which is there?
Poison.
Yeah, it turns into poison. We become completely weak. The food, instead of giving us strength, it gives us total, complete weaknesses. You know, does anyone of you have such a situation? Sometimes, because of too much thinking and too less physical work, which is unfortunately the case of modern civilization, this fire of digestion becomes very weak. So what I mean to say is that this buddhi or intelligence has, in a normal situation, especially when it's strong, it has to digest the information which is going here. And if the information is digested, then it doesn't create any harm. Whereas if the information goes directly here to our consciousness or subconsciousness, then it may create a lot of harm. And basically, Krishna is teaching us in Bhagavad Gita when he says, you know, you shouldn't be too happy when something is good is happening to you. And you shouldn't be too morose when something is bad is happening to you. What he means to say, in terms of functioning of the buddhi, he said, you take this nice experience which is there, and by your buddhi you say, so what? What is the big deal? You know, this is the function of a buddhi. This is actually the slogan of a buddhi. What is a big deal? If something bad is happening to you, the buddhi should say, what?
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal? Exactly the same thing. What is the big deal? You know, the buddhi has to say, this is actually the real function of the buddhi. The buddhi is strong, he will say, yeah, I don't care about it so much. You know, that emotional mind will always be emotional. That's the function of emotional mind. Emotional mind will always be excited, you know, this is far out, this is so good, this is, yeah, right. And the buddhi has to say, you know, come on, cool down. That's basically what has to take place. This is what digestion means. Digestion of different emotions, of different information should go through this very skeptical and kind of worrying element and be transformed into something which is not very strong. Because if digestion doesn't take place, if this process doesn't really take place, then you get very strong impressions. And these strong impressions in your mind will push you to do or to repeat the same experience. Basically, that's what happens with sex. Why the sex impulse is so strong? Because it has a lot of, you know, it engages you completely. It leaves a very strong imprint in your consciousness. And this strong imprint which is there in your consciousness, when it's activated by the contact with something which reminds you this experience, will hanker to be reactivated or to be repeated. What happens if some sense object here influences manas and it bypasses buddhi more or less, or if buddhi is very weak, because buddhi is supposed to be the guard. It's a very important function. Buddhi is guarding our consciousness from all this unwanted information which is there. But if the guard is weak or if the guard is sleeping, you know, the guard is there, but it's just, you know, it's really, you know, dozing because of too much exertion. So it goes directly here and it reactivates the dreaming or sleeping samskara here in the mind, and samskara starts screaming, yes, that's right, great, very good. So, and then you go for it.